Ladies and gentlemen, at the time of recording this video, Magnus Carlsen has won 20 World Chess Championship titles. But they decided that wasn't enough. You see, it's currently February 2026. 2 months ago, Magnus collected titles 19 and 20. But right now, we will contend for yet another one. The first ever official FIDE Freestyle World Championship. Now, let me give you a 30-second breakdown of all of this, and then we're going to get into the action. Some of you might remember that the starting position of chess has a king and a queen, bishops, knights, and rooks. Well, historically, that can be shuffled around. The original invention of that name was Fischer Random, named after Bobby Fischer. Then it was called Chess 960, Chess 9LX. Over the last few years, the Freestyle Tour came in, and they were going to do things a little bit differently. They got sexy outfits for the players, colorful, and they do a lot of fun media and stuff like that. I was at the first event last year, 2025. Then Freestyle and FIDE had a whole drama. Now, 2 months after their last event, December 2025, they've partnered up. Now, if I had to summarize this new World Championship, given how crazy the last year had been, I would have to summarize it as slightly disappointing. Like, I thought in 2025, the whole Freestyle Tour, for all of the incredible stuff that they were striving for, was really going to change the game, and it felt like a step backwards in some ways. But we'll see what happens from here. Now, the format of this World Championship is it's a 3-day event where 7 of the 8 players were kind of like pre-selected. Only 1 had a chance to qualify. That doesn't really make any sense in my mind, but they had their own format. And then all of the players play a round robin against each other, and then the top 4 move on to the championship bracket, and the bottom 4 move on to play for 5th through 8th. I gotta tell you, I don't get it. I don't get it. But apparently it is an official title, even though technically the lineal champion of this format is Hikaru Nakamura, and nobody beat him for that title. Hikaru is the reigning world champion of this format, and nobody actually took it from him in any sort of competitive setting. Anyway, with all that in mind, we're going to get into the recap. But first, I would like to give a shout out to Chess Party. Chess Party 2026 is shaping up to be one of the biggest events of the entire year. 2 days, April 17th and 18th in Stockholm, Sweden at the famous Avicii Arena. Folks, this thing's going to be crazy. They've got special guests like Magnus Carlsen, Judith Polgar, myself, Andrea Botes, and Anna Kramlingen coming. They're going to have tournaments, courses, debates, concerts, all sorts of activities, and they're expecting 10,000 people to be there. All of you, all ages, all levels, taking part in this incredible chess event. And here's the best part. Saturday, April 18th in the evening, I'll be going on stage to do my live performance. Guest the ELO, interviews, mini games, and more. This also might be your last chance to see me with hair, because it's quickly falling out. I cannot wait to see you all in April in Stockholm. Go to chessparty.com right now to get your tickets. So let's get into the first ever FIDE Freestyle Chess World Championship. Nodirbek Abdusattorov versus Magnus Carlsen in one semifinal, and Fabiano Caruana versus Vincent Keymer in the other semifinal. They were the top 4 finishers of the round robin. It was extremely close. Magnus won the round robin, but it was not by any large margin or anything like that. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th will be competed for by Hans Niemann and Levon Aronian, as well as Javahir Sindarov and Arjun Erigaisi. Now, the round robin was a faster format, and everybody played everybody. In this format, they play slightly longer games. They play 25 minutes with a bonus time, so let's go. Again, friendly reminder, back row of pieces is shuffled at the beginning of every game. There are no openings. Woohoo, nobody has to prepare. E4 and E5, anyway, appears on the board, but this is obviously not the beginner opening we are used to seeing, as Nodirbek plays it like this. There are some very loose strategies in this format, like, center is still important, piece coordination is still important. Oftentimes, you will see queens being brought out and repositioned to make way for the other pieces. But for the most part, it generally has a lack of structure until around move 7 or 8, maybe 10. Like, for example, in this game, it's quite clear that Magnus is going for a light squared blockade against Nodirbek. And Nodirbek already has opportunities to put some serious pressure here. He ends up playing knight e2 and knight g3. Magnus plays bishop d7, just trying to stabilize the position like this. Black can castle that way on these two squares and can castle this way on these two squares. You would need to move the rook in case you were confused. Bishop d3. Nordjabek has a very pleasant position from the opening, but nothing to really write home about. Here he can probably go for f5. It's the best move. He goes for a4 first. Now Magnus is like, well, I'm not going to let you go f5. b3, he, controls the Magnus position and plays queen h3. White definitely has a very, very nice positional advantage here, just purely in the sense of like pressure on the position, better long-term prospects. This knight is feeling quite bad. He's going to have to reposition it. He's probably going to have to activate his rook without even moving his king. This pawn could become a pass pawn. I have to say, it's a pretty unpleasant position for black. But Nordjabek is just, he is unable to capitalize in the moment. And ultimately, Magnus gets a nice light squared blockade on the position. And now he begins counterplay. He sacrifices a pawn very nicely. He shoves forward with d4, takes the pawn back, ready to give away his bishop for the knight, because a knight is stronger in a closed position with maneuvering plans. And Nordjabek continues to try, but ultimately Magnus gets it into this endgame where, if anything, black it might be a little bit happier in the long run. Some fancy moves here Nordjabek makes with bishop f8 and bishop g7, and he makes a little bit of progress, but Magnus was always on top of things, and the rook endgame of their first game in the best of 4 match ends in a draw, as one would imagine. A rook endgame where, like I said, Nordjabek had a good position. Maybe this was the best moment for him, but he needed to play a little bit more actively. He went queen h3, lost a little bit of time. There were some more emphatic ideas here, like h4, h5, just trying to wall up the position, move the king over here, move the bishop, bring this rook, and then start something. But he missed, he missed a little bit of a chance to put some more pressure. This was their second game, so again, it's a best of 4 format. Keep in mind what I said. The center is important. Piece coordination is important. You will see queens moving. By the way, look at this. See, g4 and h4 by Magnus. Magnus likes to play on the flanks. He likes to play with pawns and the bishop pointing from the edge of the board. He likes to activate his heaviest pieces. Nordjabek played knight b6 and bishop e5, both guys bringing bishops to the middle. Knight b3, d6. They play in a very similar way, actually. Only Magnus has a little bit more kingside space. And now, actually, black could move the king to e8, but then he would literally never castle, which is completely fascinating, right? Nordjabek goes back to g7 with the bishop, takes, and bishop takes c6, and queen h3. So Magnus now, applying, what I just thought of? I just thought that it would be really crazy to play this format blindfolded because there is no structure at all, Oh, speaking of which, I will be playing blindfold chess against Anna Kramling at Chess Party. And you know what Chess Party is because it's at the beginning of this video. Look at that. Have you been paying attention? Incredible stuff. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, in this format, playing blindfolded would be because all the tactical structures are kind of missing. So pawn takes g4, queen takes g4. Magnus in this game clearly had some weaknesses. He tried to activate these knights, didn't really get anywhere. The rook is pressuring the pawn. With white, probably you have to play rook h1. It's not a move that Nordjabek likes to make. But now this feels like an endgame where Magnus is going to massage the position for sure. Knight versus bishop, it's going to wander, it's going to try to land on a few key squares. But Nordjabek is a very good endgame player too, and he does a nice job applying pressure to the queen side, simply winning the pawn. These endgames in this format, in freestyle, Fischer Random, Chess 960, whatever you want to call it, they're very weird. Because even though one side is up a pawn, the pawns are so absurdly scattered, it's like no opening looks like this ever. So even though we have this position, Magnus can sort of do nothing, and black can't actually move any of his pieces. If black ever plays a move like e5, he's simply going to lose the pawn. If you play king d6, I play rook a6 check. If rook b6, rook a7, and you will lose these 2 pawns in the long run. Apparently, there's something even stronger. Rook a5. Oh, okay, well, yeah, duh. Take this pawn, the pawns start walking up the board. So Magnus and Nordjabek drew their first 2 games. It was very tense. And then we got yet another position here. This rook and this bishop are on their correct squares. Everything else is different. With white here, you can play e4, followed by a knight move, followed by short castle, and that's actually what the boys did. They then went b4 because... I don't know. I don't know why they did that. I'm not going to lie to you. I have no idea why either one of them went b4, b5. To be honest, I think it's because you want to move your knight into the game. But if you move your knight into the game and black goes b6, your knight is completely neutralized. It cannot go here, here, or here. And so this idea allows you to then fight much better for this. It's like putting the knight behind the pawn. That's what I think, but I'm a complete moron. And trust me if I'm saying that about myself, ain't no chance in hell I'm going to be able to explain this to you. Like, I don't know. Just enjoy the strange game mode that we have in front of them. They might as well play Rocket League, all right? That would be pretty fun, because those are little race cars that hit the soccer ball into the goal. Who invented that game, dude? Genius. Complete nonsense, but complete genius. D4. Now, again, in these games, you get certain structures, and it does make for very obscure and interesting battles in the middle game. Knight to g3. Now, if black were to take this pawn, white would take, and then both guys would be left with passed pawns, just like in the middle of the game. White's would be a little bit stronger. It's further advanced, and it does feel a little bit more natural. Like, you know, white would put more pressure, castle, f4, f5, and, you know, there's a king here. There could be a king side attack. And, yeah, that's what ends up happening. And Nojibek plays knight to f4, which Magnus happily trades off because the key blockader of the pawn has been removed. And then Magnus can play something like a knight c5, a knight d4, maybe like a bishop b3, etc. Maybe a rook c1, etc. He needs to find a way to push this pawn forward and apply a little bit more pressure. And that's what he does. He gets an excellent position. Every move that I just said he plays because he was listening to me during the game. And, you know, the bishop is here, the knight, you know, bishop here, bishop, like, everything looking nice. And he's going to do Magnus things. He goes for this position. Clean pawn up for white. And you just feel like you're going to run away with it. I mean, it's going to be easy. But Nojibek does not go down easy. He also does not go down on time. He's a very, very fast and a very resourceful player. And in this game, even though it just looks like Magnus is going to stomp, he doesn't. He fights, and he catches Magnus with d3. And he actually puts some clock pressure on Magnus. Now, knight d2, here he could have went rook f3 first. Now, black is maybe going to go to e3. You kind of want to sacrifice that. Magnus went knight d2. It was clear he was sort of baiting Nojibek into this move. And then maybe he would have sacrificed. Maybe he would have moved this rook to try to play knight f1, although f5 is hanging. So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe he would have sacrificed, but maybe there was something there. Ultimately, Magnus gets this position, and he's actually worse here. Like, Nojibek outplays Magnus a pawn down, obviously. Because that's just what Nojibek does. Rook fd8 played. Now we have king h1. It's a very, very sharp endgame. Like I said, the endgames in freestyle are super weird because these positions don't ever happen. No pawn structure would ever look like this. White is still trying to advance over here with the g and f pawns and maybe the a pawn, and is obviously looking for a4 at some point to break apart this position and get a winning endgame. Nojibek goes g6. And Magnus plays the move a4. The position's getting a little spicy. Magnus only 30 seconds on the clock. Nojibek 3 minutes. Rook e6, a b5. And here, he needs to go rook to e1 check. And then after take, he has to win the rook. And then white would win this rook probably, or go for a draw. Nojibek goes here. He might have even thought he was winning here. He might have played a move here. Because Magnus only had 37 seconds. Like, Nojibek is not stupid. He 1,000,000% saw that he could go rook e1. But I think he went rook e2 on purpose. But when you bluff against the best player in the world, you gotta be damn sure you are winning. And after this move, queen h4, he is not winning. He is not winning. This is hanging with a check. Also, queen f6 is always a problem. And when the rook moves this way, queen d4 becomes a problem. And the reason why that, or queen f6, and the reason why this is important after something like queen f6 and rook g7 is that you check the king until you get to the middle and you can just defend yourself against mate. And black cannot come down the board, but you can. And this is absolutely devastating for Nojibek, who actually played a fantastic game, but now will lose. He will lose this game because I think he got a little overzealous. Like, I think, he saw Rook E1. He might have seen that line with Rook E2, and he goes for the kill. And sometimes when you do that, you lose. And Magnus takes down Nujabek with a great defensive effort. Like, you try to put Magnus away, he's not going to go away. 30 seconds on the clock to 3 minutes. Sharp endgame. And that means Nujabek now has to win with white. Not easy to do, by the way. Not easy to do, this one, all right? And how about this? Move 3 already, black is almost better. You look at the eval bar on the screen. Yeah, this format is bananas. In this game, Nujabek played very cagey. Sometimes in this format, when you want to win, you have to kind of hang back. The reason for that is black will then take as much space as possible, but then at some point, black will have to clash with you, you know? And in that clash, you might find an opportunity, the opponent might blunder. As you see how Magnus is playing this game, when you completely dominate your opponent positionally, like in a territorial standpoint, that's sort of how chess is won and lost. It doesn't matter which type of game mode you are playing. In this game, Nujabek went a pawn down. Magnus is a pawn up. That's the way down and up work. And then he got it back, and was clear that he was really trying to provoke Magnus. In fact, look at the halfway mark of the board. Like, did Nujabek cross the halfway point at all? Like, okay, but that was a capture, right? Then he went back again. Okay, that was again a capture. Those moves don't count. Like, he hasn't made a full-on, invading move at all. It's been 21 moves. He still hasn't crossed the center line, and now he's losing. Nujabek ends up knight d3, an incredible move, by the way. Rook e1 is a threat. It's even a threat if you take the knight. If you take the knight, rook e1, king e1, queen d3. And Nujabek ends up going down in this game, never having crossed out of his own territory. Only 2 moves where he took a piece and immediately was captured back. So Magnus smooshes him into his own territory in the second game and moves on to the final. Shocking turn of events. Magnus Carlsen is in another final of a world championship. This is the fastest world championship you've ever seen. They showed up on the 13th of February to play a round robin. They spent Valentine's Day on dates with each other. Magnus takes down Nujabek, who will then play the loser of the match between Keymer and Fabiano. Now, Keymer and Fabi is an amazing matchup. Keymer was a freestyle event champion last time. He beat Fabi. That was in Weissenhaus. That was the one I was there for. I said it at the beginning of the video, and if any of the Weissenhaus folks watch this, I mean, nobody from FIDE is going to watch this, but, and frankly, I don't want them to. But from the Weissenhaus crew, like, I don't know, I was really excited last year. I was like, there was all this, like, drama and tension, and this was going to be the new thing, and then they I don't know, they just partnered. Yeah, it didn't, Now, by the way, still, these two put on a great show. They're clearly 2 of the 3 best players in the world in this format. And in their very first game, it went totally differently than the Carlsen Abdusattorov games. In this game, it was actually Fabi who took over very early with the black pieces. He jumped in with his knight, and Vincent never left the territory. It was a bit of a disaster of an opening for Vincent, who couldn't quite figure out the position. He got swarmed by Fabi. And here with white, if you play this very natural move, b3, you simply lose because Fabiano smashes open your position. Now, if you take and queen c3 comes in, you will get mated. If you take, you get mated even faster. So that kind of looks absurd, right? Like if bishop c3. But if you take the knight, it's even more amazing. I just take your rook, and then this rook is hanging, and then I'm also threatening to take and remove the knight from the defense of the mate. Like, this battery that Fabi has here is just absolutely nuts. So Vincent has to lose his rook. So 11 moves down in a world championship, and Vincent Keymer is playing without a piece. And lo and behold, Fabiano Caruana, who is the number 3 rated player on the entire planet, is able to win up a rook. Only barely, by the way. Only barely. Vincent actually crawled back into the game and had some chances, but ultimately, like, I think around here... No, there's going to be one more chance. So the boys get into a scramble where Fabiano Caruana is straight up a rook. Like, black has a rook and white does not. But in time trouble, anything can happen. I have been a victim of this and a beneficiary. And in this position, Fabi played queen to g2, which has no threat. I mean, the threat, I guess, is to take the pawn. Queen g2, queen c8 apparently would hold the game because you threaten knight b5 and queen a6. Queen c8 would have held the game here for Vincent. Fabi would have not beaten Vincent Keymer up an entire rook. And you think your chess is hopeless. It never gets any better. You know what I mean? Yeah, it did get better, though, because Vincent ended up blundering in the time trouble as well, because in this low time format, anything can happen, and a knight will not get it done. He walks the king all the way around. It takes way longer than it should have, but after 72 moves, Fabiano Caruana beats Vincent Keymer in a very dramatic game, and he moves a step closer to a world championship final of his own. Now, again, it's a 4-game match, and in this format, anything can happen. A lot of flank pawn pushes. All right, a lot of knights behind pawns. You see the strategy I've been telling you about? And the boys wait a while here to clash with their pawns. And there it is. You really built that move up. You keep making improving moves. Vincent as well, creating some, winning chances with the black pieces, looking for some potential attacking games. Knight g3, queen hits, the knight hits the queen moves. And here it was quite clear that, black starts taking over. He has an excellent position. Knight is on f4, queen is here. I'm okay with white. You play knight h1 and you're probably, or knight f5. No, knight h1, there would have been knight h3 mate. That is incredible. I thought knight h1, knight f2, but neither one of those moves is good. Knight f2 hangs mate and knight h1 hangs mate. I just hung 2 mates in like 2 moves. Amazing. But this is not any better. Black's position is simply too powerful. You're not going to be able to play the move g3 ever, as you will be walking into my attack anyway. I'll also play a move like d5 and hit this. And Vincent, although he makes 2 very natural moves, these moves are apparently both terrible, because that's just how chess works. But again, they play this format with 25 minutes. Another thing that they used to do in this format is they would play this format with like 90 minutes, which probably gets you the highest level of game, but nobody watched it. That was the struggle, is that when Fabi and Vincent played the championship last year in Germany, I was there on the first move, on literally move 1. Vincent thought 20 minutes without making a move. Explain to me, as a commentator of a sport, how I'm supposed to talk about Vincent Keymer for 20 minutes when he doesn't make a move. I can only tell you how many times he's tall and handsome and intelligent, and regardless, his partner is supposed to tell him all those things, not me. So, like, they sped up the format, but the problem with speeding up the format is now the boys got to play this incredibly sharp position with a minute on the clock. This is effectively what we have to do. But they did, and it was really exciting because Vincent kept attacking Fabi. And took rook e7 and kept attacking him and he was defending, and apparently g6 blunders the game back and Fabi missed it, and Vincent kept attacking and now has a winning endgame where he's going to win not 1 but 2 pawns, and apparently even here there was one final chance. Yeah, Fabi had to go f5 and I guess bishop e6, but Vincent ends up picking up a second pawn, and with a 2-pawn advantage, which is not as big as a rook, but clearly last time that didn't even matter, because even that proved to be too difficult. You run the king around a bunch, and the pawns will start going. And once they start going, or you fork the guy, the pawns will become queens. And Vincent Keymer shrunk back, and it was like, oh, Fabi's not just going to run away with this event. Let's go. Let's go. And it all came down to this game, because they drew a game, and now it's this. So the winner of this game moves on to fight against Magnus Carlsen for a world championship. Either their first, or his 21st, obviously. And the loser plays against Nojibek Abdusattorov. So b3 h4, I've already talked about the strategy of moving your pawns like this. Apparently c4 is just given a question mark. I can't explain this to you. Nojibek played like this as well. My nose has been super itchy. I know I look like I'm, on something. I promise I'm not. It's just every early spring this happens. And then usually when it's happening too much, I have to go trim it. And that's what I will be doing after this video. You didn't ask, but I'm telling you anyway. And even if you did ask, I wouldn't hear you because you're watching this on a screen. We don't interact in that way. And that's okay. Anyway, knight to d7, g3, queen g2. Putting a little bit of pressure here, Vincent. Both these guys got the... Knight c4. Yeah, knight c4 is brutal. Knight c4 is a double pin move. This is an absolute pin. Absolutely, you may not take on c4. This is a relative pin. You are relatively stupid if you play b takes c4. You can play it, but you would lose this because it's pinned to this. which is absolutely nuts. Knight c4 is a ghost move. It doesn't look like a move that is possible. And I think Vincent either missed this idea entirely or just realized he was in severe trouble. But yeah, actually here already he has to move his king. So these guys are just getting winning and losing positions within 7 or 8 moves of the opening. And yeah, Fabi doesn't look back. He strikes the queen side multiple times. He gets a 2-pawn advantage. And in this game, rook d2, nice move, sacking the rook, queen e3 ideas. 20 moves. It's done, and Fabiano Caruana with an emphatic victory. 3 wins with black in this match. He will face Magnus Carlsen. This is the second time or the third time that they have played in a freestyle championship event. I think it was in 2024 they met in the final. Fabi is clearly the second best in the world at this format, although he might tell you he is the best. I don't know. Keymer will move on to play Nodrbek. They will play for 3rd and 4th. And a couple of matchups from the lower spots. I was impressed with how Hans Niemann played in his match against Levon Aronian. Hans was extremely close to making it to the top 4, but I think he lost out by half a point. Brutal. But that's life. You might have seen this opening in the very first game of this recap between Magnus and Nodrbek. The players love this format, by the way. That's not really a secret. There is not much opening preparation. They get to play fresh chess ideas and fresh patterns, and you know they're still the best in the world at the format. And Hans is very good at this format. He's a very creative player. I think over the course of a lot of games, he would be undoubtedly like a top 5 player in the world, and by 5 I mean probably 4 or 5. But Levon's amazing as well. But here they are battling in the lower bracket because you know you only have one day to get everything done. And he gets a totally dominant win over Levon. Levon resigns before the battle even commences. Hans is also insanely fast. Like, one thing about Hans, like, is he will be up on time and play quick, simple moves that just improve his position very, very efficiently. Like, he's up 18 to 11, and then he's up 13 to 8. And as time goes on, he's up 11 to 9, and then to 7. Like, he's always up on clock. He is always up on the clock. And ultimately, your nervous system just gives out when you have like 20 seconds remaining and the other guy is belligerently making all his moves. Hans takes down Levon Aronian in their head-to-head match to get to 5th and 6th. And then Sindarov and Erigaisi. Boys, Sindarov, you are playing in the candidates, bro. Like, why are you flying to Germany to play Queen A5 on the second move? Best part, this is not even a bad move. This move is straight up a fork. Bro, not only is this move a fork, this straight up traps the rook. What type of ooga nonsense are we playing? What is this? There's just a trapped rook. And so that's why Erigaisi has to go here so that... What? I thought to defend his... Now, if you take the rook, Queen A4, unbelievable, the queen is trapped. Yeah, so these boys are just having fun. Sindarov sacrifices the bishop to try to get the queen out via c7, and after bishop g5, the queen does escape. But now it is white's rook that is trapped. He has to sacrifice it, but to the bishop. It's important he sacrifices it to the bishop because after knight to b3, the knight is no longer hanging, it attacks the bishop, and the queen takes this. And after all of that, this is our position, and it's 0-0-0. This format is silly. It is a crazy format. It leads to some absurd positions. It's just the king walks out of the danger, and the rook protects the knight. And this game looks scripted. I feel like the two of them planned this game out before they... I wouldn't... That's not what happened. But... What the this game is completely ridiculous. And ultimately what happens is Arjun gets a dominant position with black, queen c4, rook d8, like he sacks the bishop because he has rook d1 and then queen h4 mates because the king and the knight are just snuggling in a bunker. And he picks up the material here. Not the material, he picked up a pawn, gets in with his knight, and the game ends because he is threatening pawn h4 checkmate, basically, because after king here, I thought you have queen h1. I mean, you definitely do. This is definitely winning. Queen g2 and... Oh, f5. You mate with a pawn. Bro, this is a crazy format. Arjun guys, he takes down Sindarov. Sindarov was the best freestyle player probably in 2025, not named Magnus Carlsen, but in this event, he didn't do particularly great. And Erigaisi will probably play Neiman, and Aronian will play Sindarov for 7th and 8th. And you already know what's happening in the championship bracket. The fastest world championship will conclude tomorrow, February the 15th. I don't know what this means afterwards, by the way, because the winner of the freestyle tour in 2025 happened in December. And now in 2026, you have the upcoming, like if Magnus wins this, he will be the world champion. But nobody actually took the title from Hikaru. He's the lineal world champion. We're kind of like boxing now. Or mixed martial arts. Where titles just float around. Seems like, well, that's what's happening. But anyway, the next recap will crown Magnus as the world champion, or Fabiano Caruana will win his first title. And that's all I have for you today. Get out of here.